It is curious that tonight's service is called Kol Nidre. We don't call Passover Manishtana, yet Yom Kippur evening is generally referred to by the prayer that began our service. And what a prayer. With the Torahs out, we share words that are mainly in Aramaic, not Hebrew, and are a mystery to many Jews. The translation declares that all the vows we make on this Yom Kippur are null and void if we are unable to fulfill them in the year ahead. Vows are a serious matter in Judaism, starting in the Torah. This prayer might have been to prevent foolhardy promises or a vow taken under duress from outside forces. Kol Nidre has historically been used to repudiate the trustworthiness of Jews. The words are complicated and even confusing, so much so that even early Reformed Jewish leaders removed the prayer for over a century from the prayer book. But not the melody. That haunting melody stayed. Other words, including Psalm 130, were offered as a substitute. It is a tune that makes the heart weep. Some claim the melody goes all the way back to Mount Sinai, and it can feel like we are in the presence of God during this incredible moment of spirituality. The melody for Kol Nidre is similar in most every synagogue around the world. It isn't the challenging words that have sustained Kol Nidre, but the bittersweet sound. The effect has been noted by Jews throughout the generations and even by non-Jews. In 1843, Austrian poet Nicholas Lenau remembered his experience upon first hearing Kol Nidre. I struggled with an inexplicable emotion. I sobbed convulsively while hot tears poured from my eyes. Then I ran out into the night, my spirit torn and purified. I believe in that never-to-be-forgotten hour, no single stain remained upon my soul. Music has such a power to fill us with joy and sorrow, love and loss all at once. It might be Beethoven's Moonlit Sonata or Leonard Cohen's Hallelujah. It might be the song you remember the first time your heart was broken, or to remember a special moment or a person. One study reports that people listen to a favorite happy song about 175 times in their life, but a favorite bittersweet song 800 times. The profound beauty, deep connection, transcendence, nostalgia, and common beauty of music touch the essence of our emotions all at once. If only we allowed such a rich tapestry of poignant feelings to fill our daily lives. In today's society, most especially in the United States, we live in a culture that Dr. Susan David of Harvard University has called a tyranny of positivity. When we push aside difficult emotions in order to embrace false positivity, we lose our capacity to develop deep skills to help us deal with the world as it is, not as we wish it to be. Despite living in a world full of complexity and pain, we hide behind a facade of needing things to appear happy, or at least not sad. We're built to live simultaneously in love and loss, bitter and sweet, writes Susan Cain in her new book, Bittersweet. A world full of nothing but joy and happiness would be unrealistic and dull. Popular culture knows this. The Beatles and the Beach Boys moved from peppy songs about holding hands and driving cars to darker, more complex themes and melodies. The protagonists of comic books, children's literature, and film are often orphans with dark backstories, including Batman, Harry Potter, and most every Disney hero. Yet we continually feel the need to put up a front that everything in life is great, or at least good. We scorn our tears even when sadness is expected, such as at a funeral. Why do we apologize to others when we cry? Think of how we greet each other. Nowadays we say, not hello, but how are you? The expected response is good or fine, or often just how are you? Americans are known the world over for smiling so much of the time. In countries such as Japan, India, Argentina, and South Korea, smiling is viewed as dishonest, foolish, or both, implying selfishness, shallowness, and an uninteresting mind. And yet perfect strangers might tell us to cheer up, as if happiness should be our default setting. A few months after the terrorist attack on 9/11, I went down to Ground Zero. It was still a chaotic destruction site with makeshift memorials and crews working in the wreckage. People visiting were taking photos, and in nearly every picture, the people were smiling. At the site where over 2,700 people were killed just months earlier, their default was to smile while standing at this death site. They were unable to let their pain show. Judaism recognizes that life isn't always a wedding celebration. In fact, even at wedding celebrations, we end the ceremony by breaking a glass, reminding us that there is pain and brokenness in our lives, even as we rejoice. But that's not how we approach day to day. Teenagers who wallow in misery are shunned for it. We learn as adults to wear a mask to the outside world and deny our authentic embrace of our own emotions, especially in public. Perhaps we should move away from greeting each other with, "How are you?" unless we genuinely want to hear the response. Dr. Susan David suggests the Zulu word sawubona instead. Literally, it means, "I see you, and by seeing you, I bring you into being." Imagine being greeted like that. Our interactions need to be genuine and heartfelt, not surface and bland. You don't need to know people in order to grieve with them. You grieve with them in order to know them. The tyranny of positivity gets its most significant support from social media. People craft a perfect image of themselves, their families, their jobs, their pets, and everything about their lives. The Facebook recap of your beach vacation cloaks the family disagreements. That Instagram photo may have actually taken 47 tries, multiple filters, and a change of outfits. To the observer, it shows only a confident person staring into the camera, not the depression and struggle also underneath. We compare ourselves to the posts celebrating the best of someone's lives against our own challenges and the mediocrity of most days. Whatever the social media platform, we see others presenting their best selves unrealistically and without the reality alongside the ups and downs of our lives. Such an attitude has been called duck syndrome, referring to the ability to ducks to glide smoothly across a lake as they pedal madly below the surface. Can we recognize that we are not alone? We are all struggling, desperately swimming from day to day. Since we are living with the imperfection, we should embrace it. The origin of the term tikkun olam, fixing the world, refers to fixing the shattered shards of divinity from a broken divine vessel. The perfect can suppress our desire to advance. How can we match up to something without flaws? But it's the imperfect that inspires us. It is the crack in the Liberty Bell that makes it more interesting than all the other boring perfect bells that none of us have ever heard of. The Mona Lisa's enigmatic smile is all the more compelling. It is from our struggles and even our failures that we progress and grow. Defeat and brokenness are also part of the fabric of human experience. Acclaimed Italian chef Massimo Bottura recounts how he created his celebrated lemon tart. The first time he served it, his sous chef dropped the pastry on the floor. Upon reflection, Massimo decided the tart was better that way, cracked and imperfect, representing a better metaphor of life as the mix of the savory and the sweet. He immediately named the dish, "Oops, I Dropped the Lemon Tart," as a celebration of the imperfections within this perfect dessert. How do we face the bitter and sweet of life? What can we call that daily mix of emotions, pain, and possibility that truly fills our world? In the wake of the school shooting in Uvalde, journalist Dahlia Lithwick searched for a word to speak to that struggle. A friend suggested the Yiddish word Zerbrochenkeit, which means the quality of brokenheartedness that gives strength in healing. At its essence, it means that we each carry our shattered pieces within us. The essential bit is that Zerbrochenkeit is not something that needs quick fixing. It is instead honored. It means that we are obligated to gather up, to tend to, and to honor the pain, but also to take up the work of healing. The words of Kol Nidre are about the promises we could not fill. The melody of Kol Nidre is a reminder that our lives are not summed up simply into good or bad, but are always a struggle of the bittersweet. When we are brave enough to sit with our pain, it deepens our ability to sit with the pain of others. It shows us how to love them. As we began our Yom Kippur evening with the music of Kol Nidre that connects us to hearts across time and space, we end with a song that is not quite as old, but has a place in souls of so many. Naomi Shemer, one of the greatest songwriters in Jewish history and in Israel, wrote Al Kol Ela to comfort her sister Ruth after Ruth's husband's death. The song's opening words, Al hadvash ve'al ha'oketz, al hamar v'hamatok, for the honey and the sting, for the bitter and the sweet, have their roots in a midrashic comment on the book of Numbers. The midrash pictures a person who sees a bee and cries, "Bee, get away from me. I have no use for you. I don't want your honey, and I don't want your sting." Yet we know that our lives are genuinely both the honey and the sting, the bitter and the sweet. We must find the path to recognize, feel, and respond to both the good and the bad in our bittersweet lives. Yom Kippur liturgy speaks in definitives, who shall live and who shall die, but we live in the space in between, continuously and simultaneously. May this coming year be one of reflection of our authentic selves. It isn't always good or even okay. Often it's fair or even bad, or all of them at once, making life richer and more meaningful. Al hadvash ve'al ha'oketz, al hamar v'hamatok, for the honey and the sting, for the bitter and the sweet.
For the honey and the bee sting, for the bitter and the sweet, all the things which join as one to make our lives complete. For the future of our children, for our prayers will never cease, for the hope that with tomorrow comes a world of peace. Al Kol Eileh, Al Kol Eileh, Shmoy Ali, Eli, Atov, Al Hadvash ve'al ha'oketz, Al Hamar ve'hamatok, Al Natakol Natua, Al Tishkach et hatikva, Hashiveni ve'ashuva el haaretz hatova.
For the honey and the sting, for the bitter and the sweet.